upon his household of professing Christians who continue to think it's okay to have one foot in worldly values and sins and compromise and violence and sexual immorality and pornography and unclean talk and gossip and slander and speaking evil against our brothers and sisters and like it's nothing to God and murmuring and grumbling. That will be judged by God. And I knew that those who submit to this early gracious 1 hour of voluntary nakedness before God, I knew that this would be the easiest, kindest, most gracious form of judgment that would come upon either the church or later, woe to the ungodly. And the Lord showed me most churches will not obey this word. There's either no time in their programs, or who's going to want to lay out before the Lord and not get to talk for a whole hour. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why. And I believe the Lord sent this word out to many, but not all will do it. But one thing I know, he showed me for sure, the ones that will not do it voluntarily will be judged differently later. I don't know exactly what that means, but I knew it wouldn't be as gracious. It wouldn't be as easy. It would be worse. Let's just be blunt. Those who would not do this voluntarily, it would be worse later. And I'm not going to make up details that I don't know, because that would be adding to the word, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm thrilled with the churches that have responded this way, and I'm so honored. This is the first time I'm speaking publicly about the word. And I just feel incredibly blessed with the hearts. And so it's 1 week away for your blessed congregation. And, you know, I am spending this week doing business with the Lord. In other words, if you were going to be audited by the IRS, wouldn't you spend some time going over your paperwork before they call you into that little room? Wouldn't you want to get your ducks in a row? You wouldn't go to an audit unprepared, would you? And, you know, for people that say, well, God would never do this, it's too harsh, it's too legalistic, the Lord was showing me last night, he said, don't teachers give report cards in school? He said, at the end of the year, do you think they're being mean to give you a report card? He said, even worldly leaders have their people present themselves for an evaluation. See, the word judgment in Hebrew has many, many nuances. It doesn't mean condemnation in most of the cases it's used in the Bible. A judge can render any kind of a verdict in a courtroom. It's not always a condemning verdict. And the word to judge, most of the time it's used in Hebrew is the word ladun, or adin is a judgment seat. Ladun. There's another word, shafat, which is another word for judgment. But what it means is the judge will sit on his throne and make a righteous, just evaluation of the condition of the hearts of each individual. But I knew he wanted it to be a corporate time. He didn't, I know some people that have written to me and said, Jill, I don't have a church. Can I do it by myself? As if I'm the policeman of the word. And I certainly write back and I say, I'm sure he'll honor that. I said, but the word I got was a corporate word. I'm just reporting. I saw individual churches agreeing and covenanting together to set this 1 hour apart. And there was, for those that haven't read the word, there's a word about blowing the shofar before the hour begins. And that children are to come to this meeting. And this is probably very controversial, but I'm just going to share what the Lord showed me. He showed me that children under the age of 7 were not required to come to the meeting, but they were allowed to come to the meeting if they desired, and if the parents felt they could handle being silent for an hour, which I think is hard even for us. But children 7 and over, the Lord he desires, or I might even say requires them to come to the meeting, unless as a parent, maybe you know that your child could not possibly handle that. But I don't want to make excuses, because he did tell me that he wanted children 7 and over to be there. But he does want the parents to instruct the children ahead of time so that they know this isn't time to color in their coloring books. And that's not wrong maybe in other cases, but this is a time where they really have to get serious with the Lord. And he didn't talk to me about what if the children don't know the Lord yet. Like, I really can't comment on that. I'm going to leave that completely between the parents and the Lord, because I don't want to go beyond what I know. But the Lord did show me that all children under the age of 7 would be counted as innocent and righteous by the blood of Yeshua. And they would be counted as innocent, and they would not undergo any form of judgment at this time. But he said to me, children 7 and over know the difference between right and wrong. That's what he told me. So you can take that to him, but I'm just being brave and telling you what he said. And then he also said that there could be a second hour of silence that was optional, that anyone after that 1 hour was free to quietly leave and could have conversations in other part of the building. But some might want to stay a little longer, because God might be, like a friend to me wrote to me last night, and he did it with his son on the floor last night. And he said time just evaporated, and the Lord enveloped them in such a strong presence, they didn't even know where the time went. And that email from him last night was my first fruits of joy, that someone that I respect very, very much did it with his son, because they didn't have a church. And he said that it changed their lives tremendously last night. So I was excited that the Lord gave me that first fruit encouragement before I had to speak publicly about it. So that second hour is optional, and let's say that you're still doing business with the Lord when the shofar is blown after that first hour. But let's say that 15 minutes later you feel completely released to be done. That second hour, you don't have to complete the hour. Once you've completed the 1 hour, you can stay any amount of time you desire into that second hour. And if there's no shofar in a congregation, the Lord said, just let the pastor say, to begin it, present yourselves before the Lord. And any teaching the pastors desire to do should be done before that hour begins, but not using up the hour for that. So those are a few scriptures. A few other scriptures about hypocrisy is in Acts 5, verses 1 to 11. This is a New Testament case of a couple dying in the judgment of God, because they lied to the Holy Spirit. When Ananias and Sapphira sold that property, no one forced them to give the full amount to the apostles. They could have said, we're going to give you 200,000 and we're going to keep 200,000. They could have easily said that, and Peter would not have been given this harsh judgment to pronounce over them by the Holy Spirit. But they lied. And remember, I said the one thing the Lord cannot handle is blatant hypocrisy before him. And that's why I believe he said some will die. Because there may be people out there somewhere that would want to look good in front of the church, and maybe they say, well, I'll just lie before him for an hour like everybody else. I mean, I hope nobody does this, but you know how there's always someone maybe that thinks that's okay, and they're coming in a lie in their heart. And perhaps some of those will undergo severe judgment. And that's not for me to say, but hypocrisy is dangerous. And so as long as we're honest with the Lord, there's nothing he can't graciously cleanse us of. And I just want to say something else. To those of you who do this, what you're doing is you're signing up to be part of his end time company of holy, purified, cleansed, prophetic people. I believe that the people who emerge from this 1 hour, you know when Yeshua came out of the river, and the Lord said, this is my beloved Son. The Holy Spirit rested upon him and never departed from him from that point. I believe in fact, last night, in the middle of the night, the Lord showed me a river, a sparkling river of cleansing. This just happened last night. I just remembered it. And he invited me to get in the river last night in my spirit, not physically. And when I went into the river last night, I came up so clean. I felt washed. I felt